Today on our Tech for Business podcast, we're joined by Kyle, our CEO and president, to talk about choosing your first AI project. And before we started, I mentioned we've been talking about new tools and new technologies, but this is bigger picture. So when choosing an AI project or implementing it, what are some of the criteria you start with, Kyle?
It's a great question side of it, and something that obviously pays the bill size whether everybody's going to look to get out of the AI once you move beyond kind of the chatting side of it. Quite honestly, I think the easiest, simplest way to approach it is to first do some time tracking and understand where are you spending the time.
Mm-hmm.
Where are people spending time, and what are the tasks that people don't like to do? I think if you run through those two criterias and then marry those up, where you're spending quite a bit of time and nobody likes to do it,
Yeah.
is then how can AI help me here? Those are more often than not, those are repetitive or just menial tasks where you're taking in a bunch of data, stuff that you got to rekey or you got to run into a spreadsheet and do an analysis. You got to do some data processing of that information side of it to then be able to make a business decision or complete a business process side of it, whether it's billing or whatever it may be. That's a very common thing all businesses have to do. A good example of this, just kind of framing up side, is if you look at like use case we're looking at CIT side is vendor invoices. So we have vendor invoices that's come in emails. They come in emails as PDF sides with it. So we're in a bunch of technology solution gear and we get invoices, and they may have on that PDF, it may have tie-ins to multiple POs, and then they need to be mapped into and put into our ERP system side. Well, that takes a person on an average, we calculate it out to be 80 hours a month side. So pretty significant time savings. It's about half the month full-time employee side to do just that. And they don't like doing it. It's tedious. You got to open it up, and then you got to stare at the parent. You got to key it in those sides. It's not fun work. To have now an AI to do the OCR, open up the PDF, identify the order, identify the vendor, identify the product, connect it to the ERP system side of it, and create the entry side of it. And even if you start with AI is going to take the PDF and then just put it into a spreadsheet or a table that then can be hit apply to then push it into the ERP, is a huge significant time savings. If you can say we can get this down to where it's 8 hours a month instead of 80, there's your 10x return. And I think that's very doable. It's an initiative that we're on right now. It's where we're starting. Because again, it's a higher return. There's a high value side of it and very doable. It's not, the technology is 100% there. That's not pie in the sky. That is very accomplishable. And that is not something that I'd put that probably that's a 60-day initiative. That is not something out of first quarter initiative. That is not it's going to take the entire year to figure out. So I think when you look at, you got to identify where people are spending the time. Again, is that key part. Those are your first clues. So that's how you got to calculate your ROI of that. So if you take your loaded cost of the individual's time on what they're doing, what you pay them, extract it out over the year side of it, load that with their benefits and those sides of it. You can then measure how much time they're taking on average to do those task sides with it. You then measure it again once you augment that with some AI technology side of it. Now you got your ROI justification to say, okay, you are getting a return on that side of it. Good or bad, maybe you don't. And then you say, okay, let's pay me to something else. But I think most organizations have those glaring ones, like I just used an example where it's obvious there's a lot of hours going into it. There's a lot of manual side. Most companies have those early ones. Those are great places to look. I would be cautious of don't try to go for the biggest, baddest one you can solve. Ones that involve a lot of multi-steps, multi-department, a lot of workflow stuff, I would steer clear of those as your first early ones. That's, you may be tempted to go to those because, again, the ROI may be very, very large if successful on those, just because it probably impacts multiple individuals where you're in the hundreds and potentially 1,000 hour plus, annually side of it. Those are shiny objects you want to go for eventually side of it, but you do have to ease into it, well, from just awareness, the people impact, the understanding, you know, and you want to be able to get it done. Like I said, having something that can be accomplished in a relatively short period of time frame, like a quarter, where you get it started, you get it, and then you're done, you're moving. So you're experiencing that. I think if you look at the use cases you hear out there and the studies that come out, they say a lot of these guys never reach, they never leave the pilot phase. It's usually because of what I said, where they went too big. And it was just so massive that they had to sit there and do a bunch of pilot, a bunch of study, that was something that never got going just because it was just too big to go through. Start small, but start with some of the obvious ones, and then you can build on that momentum, both from the ROI and from the people aspects. Because as soon as the people see those wins, they start to suggest other ways that it can be used, and you can continue to build on that as an organization.
Yeah. That I have so many questions. Let's start, because you gave a good example of an easy win project, which is kind of that data entry. Are there other easy wins or places that you would recommend someone start looking for an idea or a way to implement AI? So not just the data entry. What are other ideas that they could look at?
Sure. I think in sales is the other one you hear quite often. I think for good reason. I think you can look at, if I use the Microsoft Copilot, for example, that's a very popular one, or whether you use Google Gem or Microsoft Copilot or those things in the business environment side of those. If you take a transcript of a meeting as a salesperson, you build an agent that puts your brand and your branding and your style and those other sides. You can upload the transcript to the agent. The agent builds you a scope of work. It can build you a follow-up email. It can build you a proposal, size of those, and it's all worded. It sounds like you. It sounds like the company. It has your key variables you want on those. I mean, now you can create content. You can have very quick turnaround, and you start to repeat that over and over side of it. Your hours saved per week, per month on the other sides, and just the quality and the momentum side can be very well benefited by just invoking, a small purpose-built agent to offload, that overall task and just capture it. And I think it all starts with first and foremost understanding the importance of the context side of it, getting the data first. So start recording all your meetings. Record your meetings, because that transcript is so incredibly valuable, because now you can ask the AI to assist with all that information that came through, and you don't have to sit there and take manual notes and then try to read your notes and then try to recall it. And then life got busy, so you got to it 3 days later. You can't remember everything that happened, So it's just like all those challenges that we all deal with when you're dealing with a lot of things coming at you side of it. So basically, it frees your brain. You just say, I got the transcript. You put it in there. You already got it built to say, this is the framework that I needed, and this is the output that I need coming out of it. And it's got the proper brand voice, so it doesn't sound like the AI slob. It's tuned, which is important. It's real, right? I mean, you hear that from customers like, I don't want my salespeople using AI to write their emails because I can tell it's AI and it's offensive to me. That's real. But if you take the little extra time and you just build an agent and give it the brand voice, you can give it examples of past emails. I mean, Copilot can see your Outlook, and Gemini can see your Gmail and those other sites. It knows how you write. So it sounds like you. And then you just do a few edits to it, but then it is an AI slop. It's an enhanced you at that point. And I think that's that's where you want to get into. But you do have to spend a little time to plan it. But then the results are very, very good. And it just will, enhance and expedite how much quicker you get those tasks completed.
I love that. Enhanced you. That does make sense because there's still that human element. We've talked over and over about there's still a person there involved in this step. It's just a tool, just like a calculator is a tool. Your phone is a tool. These are just tools that we're using.
Yeah, it's just a tool, but you can make it more purpose built for you, and then you're going to get more use out of that tool just by doing some tuning and adjustment size on it. But the software vendors, between Microsoft and Google and ChatGPT and Claude and all those they're all actively enhancing, to allow you to do more of these types of agent builds and task, enhancer sides of those to really augment and just make your job get done faster and better side. But then, yeah, it's definitely an enabler.
I'd like to talk a little bit about measuring success because you mentioned that knowing what you want to get out of this new AI project or implementation. So we talk a lot about saving time. Other than that, what are some metrics of success when you are deciding on a project?
It's hard not to map the ROIs of it. I mean, I think that
Yeah, of course.
that's the first foremost. But then the obvious other side of it is
Right.
if you need to have some ability to measure what else you're doing in addition because you saved the time, right? So, if you're, say I saved, doing what I just said with the emails and the transcription side, say I figure, well, that's probably saved me 2 hours a day. Am I now doing something additional with those 2 hours that now gave me additional growth or additional business opportunities, or we got, more done in that same amount of time? You need to be able to at least have some quantifiable analysis side of saying, this is what I got done now versus comparably what I got done, say, 2 months, 3 months last year or whatever, before I had those signs. I'm seeing more, I'm getting more accomplished. So it's a little bit of, I think, journaling, a little bit of tracking on those things. If you really want to have a serious understanding of saying, what is actually getting accomplished? Am I getting more leverage? Am I getting more done? And it's only valuable if you're able to measure it first, because it's too hard to measure. So you do have to be a little thoughtful about that, at least keep track. If you're diligent about your Outlook side of it, it's probably worth, there's a wealth of information side of those things. Are you able to do some more meetings or get more done? But each person's gonna have to probably have their own measurement of how they're getting that done. If it's just you and you just go through this, I think you'll get a general, you'll know. You'll know because you're either just feeling less overwhelmed. You may be feeling less things that didn't get done, or you're feeling more confident to be able to take on more tasks than you normally would have traditionally done. I think that's what I've experienced. You can just feel it. It's not as overwhelming to say, oh, boy, I got to get this done, this done, this time. Say, well, if I use AI to help me, I can get this done. And if I do this, it can help get that. And I can, this is no problem. I can get this done. There's I don't know if comfort's the right adjective side of it, but I think it adds to your confidence factor as it builds. I wouldn't expect it right away. It comes like anything as you learn to utilize the tools and its abilities better, and you experiment more with it. I think your confidence will grow.
Yeah, keeping an eye on that big picture is so important because I think when we're measuring success, we're just looking at the project that we have in front of us. But I love that you're reminding us to look at everything else that you can do. What else are you doing? Or are you just going home on time? That's huge too.
Huge, yeah, and are you not going to stay up as late to finish writing those, scope of works or that sales proposal side of it because I was able to do it for you in 10 minutes, while you're still at the office, while you were doing something else, it was spitting out. So there's, I think there's a lot there to benefit people.
Sure. So I want to talk a little bit, because we're talking about all the amazing things in AI, but how do you decide if a project that you've started, it's going to take me, 90 days to implement? At what point do you say this is not working and I do have to give this up? It's not going to work this time, or we just don't have the tools or the resources. How do you define that it's not the right project?
I think it comes up pretty quick. You can do your initial analysis, you do your initial build of, say, the agent. Again, if I go back to the example on the PDF side of it, you do just say, I want to first see if it can. I need to scan the PDF, and I needed to just display to me the vendors, the price. Can it recognize them? So you take those initial small steps. Yes, successful with that. Okay. Again, before you even get into the agent build, I think you just do this. You can do this in the straight chat. Just get a familiarity and say, okay, the capabilities of this model can do this. Then now you just start to build on it. If your results are not promising there, then I think you're going to get early indications to say, I don't think the amount of effort that's going to have to go in to make this work. Unless it's going to be a big project, I think you can pivot to something that's probably more easier to work.
Yeah. I'm hearing a lot of data and tracking and journaling and how important that is on the front end. Is there anything else on the front end that you are like, you absolutely have to get this in order before you even start?
Documenting the process that you're trying to replace, I think, is incredibly important side of it. And the other reason why I think that's important is we use AI in a lot of terms, and you hear AI agents a lot. It's kind of a broad statement, but a lot of them are automations. They're not even they're not even necessarily AI. It's just purely automations. And the way to look at like an automation side of it would be if it's always ABC, and the next time it's ABC, and it goes through those things. If it's just a repeatable process and there's an event, which they typically call a trigger, and then it just causes the next steps to occur, you just need automation. You don't even necessarily need AI handles, but that still provides a ton of value, but it's good to know. But you need to have, do you have steps A, B, and C documented? And do you know exactly what it's doing? Most organizations that probably exist for a long time, this process or business workflows existed for quite a long time. It's never been formally documented. It's just been passed along. This is what we, right?
This is what we do. This is how we do it. Yeah.
Taking a pause of that, because that's going to give you far greater success and give you better insights into, whether you automate it or whether you augment it with an AI agent or a combination of both. And then it's, it could be automation, AI, and people. I mean, whatever it comes through, but you got to understand everything that you're doing and be able to take a kind of holistic view on it. Whatever it is, I mean, some may take you 5 minutes to document. It's like, I take this, I do this, and I'm not, but I think pausing and thinking through what you want and what it needs to do is incredibly important, because that's how you need to determine how you're going to measure success when it's done. I wouldn't just go into it blind and say, well, I know this is taking a lot of time, so I'm just gonna dive in and just start creating an agent. Well, you can do that, but I think it's gonna just add a lot of time and frustration to where it goes. I think a lot of that planning and I know in the application development space they use what they call PRDs. So you got these requirement documents that get built, but it's for that purpose. It's to basically, what is the full requirements of what this needs to do? Then when you go and you look to solve for that, you have more context, you have more solid information, especially when working with AI. AI, you need to be explicit. You need to be very clear exactly what it's going to do to get the best return on it. Which, if you leave gaps in those, you're going to have gaps in your results. It doesn't fill in the gaps real well. That's where you tend to get hallucinations or just false sides. I heard an example of one from a customer side. They were working for AI to do a spreadsheet for them, put through those sides where it created the spreadsheet, just put the number, didn't use a formula. And you basically went in the prompt and said, I need you to put the formula in the spreadsheet for everything you do. So it put the number in, then it just showed the formula in another column next to it. So it did exactly what he asked, but it wasn't the explicit outcome to say all calculations must be done by a formula in the spreadsheet. You must ever just place a number in a cell. It must be coming from a formula. You have to get very, very specific about it to get the right result. And that's where I think people get frustrated with some of these early sides of it. They either start too quick, they didn't think it through, they weren't methodical enough on and building it out to scope it before they got started. So the initial results were very disappointing and are frustrating side of it. And then he says it's just not worth it. We'll just keep going through. I would encourage people to say, just pause, spend a little time to really do analysis. And I think AI can help you with this too. I mean, I would, if people haven't used voice mode on AI, whether you're using it in ChatGPT or Gemini stuff, I think it's the best technology setting because you can just voice chat into the sites to build those PRDs. I mean, even while you're using it, just chat with them saying, this is what I'm doing, this is what it needs to do, this is what it needs to do, and have it summarize that for you and say, okay, I need you to create a requirements document because I want to build an agent to solve these things. It'll actually start to do that for you. It'll get you 80% there. And then you just fill in the gaps. So again, it doesn't even have to be a manual, tedious process in itself. AI can help you with that too. AI can take pictures. Gemini is great on it. It's multimodal. Take pictures of the screen. Take a video of the screen of what you're doing and capture the video of it, in whatever your screen capture and feed that to Gemini and say, I need to solve how to do this in an agent side of it. And really, you're going to be amazed at how well it does. So you just have to, you have to figure out how to get those in context, and then you have to be very clear exactly what the outcomes you want. Use AI to assist, and then go through it. That's where we're helping out a lot. It's just that the training and helping to kind of aggregate pull the process together of how to maximize the outcome of this. But the good news is it's not terribly complex. Overall, once you kind of change your thought process.
Yeah. I do want to touch a little bit on that because it's very exciting, and I think business leaders are going to be really interested in implementing these things. But when you start talking about building agents and, doing this, creating these workflows, that can be really overwhelming if you don't already, because now I have to train somebody who knows how to do that. So that part, I think, people can get stuck is now what? I can document, I know what I want, but I don't have a trained person to do that. I mean, where do you start there?
Again, that's why the CITs of the world exist, to be honest. I mean, that's, because you have a business challenge to solve for, you bring in some expertise. If you don't have it in-house, if you don't have a champion in-house that's evolved out of it, that's going to spend the time to understand all these technologies and do a deeper dive. Because, I'll be honest, it's ever changing. It's just like any other piece of technology. There's a specialization to it, just like there is with the CPA and other sides of it. There's purpose use of consulting is, I think, will leverage and get you, moving much faster than trying to do it 100% organically. Each organization size, I mean, you can kind of factor that out whether you need an internal resource or external. But I think that would be my recommendation is if you truly want to get it going, you want to have success with it, engage a consultant to help get it built and get it moving. Because honestly, if you're not going to be doing it on a regular basis side of it, I mean, the return on that knowledge side and to go and educate yourself to figure out how to do it, and then all the time to research it and go through it, you're not going to get the return versus all the ROI you're missing by not doing it. So just bring in somebody who's got the expertise to ask you some of the questions, go through it. If you did your part by saying, I know how much time it takes, I know how it works, and I know the outcome we need when it's done, you just did, probably the heaviest lift of it. Applying the technology now to make that happen is going to maximize the results of that consultant, and they're going to be far more efficient for the spend because you're just, they get their job done faster and cost you less. Because otherwise they're going to have to ask you all these questions anyway. And/or they're going to come back and say, okay, I built it with what you told me. And then they're going to go, well, geez, I forgot we need this. And now they got to go back and redo it. I mean, you have all those inefficiency sides, just like any other thing. It's like the more you just think through, do some more due diligence, say, we really understand, we know what we needed to do. We know exactly how we do it now. Can you help us and/or automate or AI enhance this in some way? And how would you recommend it? The last piece of mine thinking on it, I mean, I think it's important to bring in a consultant at some points too, is not all the LLMs are the same. So what you're asking to do, one may be Microsoft Copilot, one may be Google Gemini, one may be Claude AI. I mean, one may be ChatGPT. They all just like different tools. Some of them are better than others for what you're trying to accomplish, and you may want to get that input because that may save you a ton of hassle too. I think the world we're living in, there isn't going to be one LLM that rules them all. I think that's already evolved out through the course of this year. Side of it is you're going to want to you're going to be a multi-model shop. It's just you're getting the right tool for the right job to get it done, and the outcome is what you need. And/or it may not even be an AI model up, maybe an automation platform like Power Automate, and maybe Zapier, maybe Make, maybe any. And you're going to figure out what automation platform gets it done too.
Definitely. So I think as we wrap up here, a big thing is document. Make sure your data is all cleaned up. Is there anything I'm missing for these business leaders to get started?
No, I think document, understand, do time tracking. Know where your people are spending time. I know that's surprisingly not always clear either. Capturing that is important. So you can get measurable ROIs, so you're getting that return. I think is an important side of it. And then data's king in AI and context is basically what we'll call that. Whatever data you can feed into that side is going to have everything to do with the outcome. So think in terms of how you can capture that data and how you can orchestrate. It's going to help you orchestrate and have the best results coming out of the AI. If you're thinking in those terms, you'll be able to start realizing, I think, some good results from your AI engagement.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this topic, please let us know. Like, subscribe, or reach out to us at info@cit-net.com or head out to our website, cit-net.com/podcast. We'll be back next week with an all-new episode.